It has been 2.5 years since the next-gen consoles released. Within those 2 years, there has been a major shortage in PS5s. Sony was just not producing them quick enough to be able to find in any big box retailer or game store. You could only find them online, rarely though. Since then, the shortage has finally come to a halt, and production rates are finally increasing. So you can probably guess what I did. Well, you could probably guess from the thumbnail and title already. But guess anyways! My name is Brad for Brad's Tech Reviews, and today I'm going to be answering one big question that you all should know before buying the PS5. Should you purchase the PS5 after it has been on the market for almost 3 years now? Or should you wait for the PS6?
Huh?
Okay, first, let's talk about what you get inside the actual box. As far as the contents go inside the box, you obviously get the PS5, you get a wireless DualSense controller, you get the base for which the PS5 sits on, you get an HDMI cable, the AC power cord, the USB cable, you get Astro's Playroom, which is a pre-installed game that comes on your PlayStation 5, and you get 2 literature booklets. There are also an array of accessories that do not come included inside the PS5 box. So these accessories include Sony's HD face camera, which is good for live streams, Sony's console covers, which come in a wide variety of colors. It gives your PS5 a little customization. Sony's wireless DualSense charging station, which can hold up to 2 controllers for wireless charging purposes. Sony's Pulse 3D wireless headset, which can be used for the PS4 and maybe even previous consoles such as the PS3. Sony's Access controller, a highly customizable controller kit designed to make games more accessible. Sony's Media Remote gives you the ability to control streaming services, music, and movies through the PS5. For extra storage options, Sony gives you the options of an internal M.2 SSD called the SN850. You can have up to 2 terabytes of additional storage internally connected to your PS5. And for external USB drives that were made for the PS4 and PS5 consoles, there's an officially licensed Seagate USB 3.0 external SSD that allows 2 terabytes of extra storage. Both of these SSD options allow you to effortlessly stream games directly from the drive for quick and enjoyable gameplay. The last one is an HDMI cable called the Power A cable that allows you to place your console up to 10 feet away from your display. It is officially licensed by Sony and supports 4K HDR gameplay. As with any piece of technology, the PS5 comes with a steeper price tag. For the disc edition of the PS5, it comes in at $499 US. If you want the bundle with the disc edition of the PS5, it comes in at $549 US. If you want the digital edition of the PS5, it comes in at $399 US. And if you want the digital edition with the bundle, it comes in at $449 US. There are 5 different bundle options for the PS5. Each bundle option comes with a different game. The first bundle game is Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Ratchet & Clank is a very colorful and vibrant game and would be fun for anybody that enjoys playing fantasy type games. Game number 2 is Horizon Forbidden West. If you enjoy a story mode game that's filled with adventure and it's very action-packed with vibrant colors and a beautiful environment with many mysteries to uncover, this game is for you. The third bundle game option is FIFA 23. I don't have to say much about this one, just that if you're a soccer fan, like a huge soccer fan, I recommend picking this game up right here. The fourth game bundle option is God of War Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok is another action-packed story mode game filled with a ton of violence. If you like what you hear about God of War Ragnarok, I recommend picking the game up as soon as you can. The fifth and final bundle game, that's probably the most popular game, is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. If you enjoy gaming with your friends and playing player versus player or Battle Royale, I recommend picking this game up right here. You can hang out with your friends, you can have a good time, you can customize your characters, and so much more. Let's jump right into the more advanced specs of the powerful PS5. The PS5 is equipped with a very powerful CPU, the x86-64 Ryzen AMD Zen 2. 18 cores, 16 threads, and 3.5 gigahertz of variable frequency. 3.5 gigahertz of variable frequency. Why is frequency so hard to say? As far as the GPU goes for the PS5 is equipped with the AMD Radeon RDNA 2. This graphics engine is custom made by AMD. The PS5 runs at 10.28 teraflops. The PS5 runs at 10.28 teraflops. The PS5 runs at 10.28 teraflops and 36 compute units at 2.23 gigahertz. A huge new feature of the PS5 is race tracing acceleration. If you don't know what race tracing is, it is a feature of the next-gen gaming consoles that helps light look more realistic in video games. It mimics how light reflects off surfaces or how light travels through windows on buildings, creating shadows. This feature makes gaming just one more step closer to reality. The PS5 comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 448 gigabytes of bandwidth. So let's talk more about the internal storage. The PS5 comes with a custom 825 gigabyte SSD with the option of expanding the storage with the NVMe SSD slot. This SSD can read data at around 5.5 gigabytes per second. This is the very first time that Sony put an SSD in their console instead of a spinning HDD. I don't know why. This also comes with a 4K UHD Blu-ray optical drive. The video out on this PS5 that displays on a TV like this is pretty dang impressive. You can play your favorite games, watch your favorite movies on this PS5 at 120 gigahertz per second on 4K displays and 8K displays. That is nuts. Lastly, for the internals of this PS5, it comes with the Tempest 3D audio tech. Sony wanted an immersive sounding experience for everybody on their next-gen console, not just the owners of high-end and expensive speaker setups. After supplying you guys with all this great information, now it comes down to 2 preferences: the disc version or the digital version. Which one should you buy? Let's talk about the pros of the disc edition first. The disc edition allows you to use your PS4 game discs on your PS5 because the PS5 is backwards compatible with PS4 discs. The disc edition allows you to buy physical copies in store if you so happen to run across a good deal or you just want to pick up a physical copy. The game might be on sale in the store, but it might not be on sale on the PlayStation Online store. And lastly, some people like collecting physical copies of their favorite game series and have the full collection of every game in that series ever produced displayed at home, such as the Madden franchise, the Mortal Kombat franchise, or the Call of Duty franchise. Okay, so now let's talk the pros of the digital edition. The first one is simple. Some people like the aesthetic of the PS5 without the disc slot versus having the disc slot. Number two, some people don't like the clutter of gaming media sitting on their shelves. Some people just like the very minimalistic setup with nothing on their shelves but the PS5 and the PS5 controllers. Number three, some people love the luxury of being able to buy and play a game at the click of a button on your controller, and you don't even need to leave the house at all. Most users like convenience without going through the trouble of trying to find a physical copy in store. It might sound easy to find a copy in store, but for a very popular game that might have just been released is a whole nother story. But for owners with the digital edition of the PS5 that don't care about physical copies of games, makes the process a whole lot more simple. They don't have to worry about the chance of a store being sold out. The PlayStation Store has unlimited copies of a game that could be in high demand, while a retail store such as Walmart might only have 6 copies that could go in the matter of an hour. For the last point of the digital edition, probably the most important point, is that the digital edition is $100 cheaper than the disc edition. That's a huge difference. So we've made it through the spec review and unboxing. Now, let's run through my final thoughts and impressions. First off, the PS5 disc and digital edition is a huge upgrade from the PS4. I mean, you notice the quality difference almost instantly. Not only are the graphics a whole lot better, but the refresh rate is double the speed of the PS4 refresh rate. That is huge. As far as the preferences go for the disc versus digital edition of the PS5, they are both viable options that come down to what fits your gaming lifestyle the best. All of the internals in the PS5 are customized for optimal performance in next-gen gaming. Accessory-wise, I think all of them are really cool, and each one will definitely give your setup a huge boost. So the 2 accessories that I would recommend would be the DualSense wireless charging dock and the M2 SSD that connects to the SSD slot inside your PS5. Since we're on the topic of storage, I don't like the fact that the PS4 came with more storage than the PS5. The PS4 came with 1 terabyte of internal SSD, while the PS5 came with 825 gigabytes of internal SSD. I could see why Sony did this though. They have so much advanced hardware built into the PS5 that they had to give up one feature to get another. So most of us know that the design of the PS5 and DualSense controller looks very amazing and it looks very futuristic. As I took a moment to look at the physicalities of the PS5, I noticed that the inside of both console covers have very small engraved PlayStation logo shapes scattered across the entirety of the surfaces. If that ain't paying attention to detail, I don't know what is. Nicely done, Sony. When it comes to the overall shape of the PS5, it's a pretty massive console. For how advanced our technology is these days, you would have thought that Sony could have minimized the mainframe of the PS5, right? On a more positive note though, Sony did a great job in terms of the futuristic shape, color, and feel of the PS5. Since the PS5 is so big, there are a couple key things to consider before purchasing one of these monsters. Make sure it fits in your setup somewhere. This means making sure there's enough room on the shelf under your TV or enough room on your desk with your monitor. It has to be able to fit in a centralized location because the cables that connect to your PS5 also need to reach your TV or monitor. This can be tricky since the cables are not super lengthy. Moving on to this guy right here, the DualSense wireless controller. You know, there's more to this controller than what meets the eye. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. The first key feature of this DualSense controller is the haptic feedback, which makes games feel physically more interactive. This feature simulates the feeling of what is happening in the game that you are playing by vibrating according to the in-game movements. This can be environmental interactions or different weapon recoil feelings. Another main feature of this DualSense controller is adaptive triggers. Adaptive triggers allow you to experience the tension of the left and right triggers while performing different tasks in a game. This can be shooting a gun, pulling back a bowstring, or hitting the brakes while racing a high-speed vehicle. The triggers essentially react to different gear or objects that are put to use in different environments. Now that is the definition of cool. The final main feature of this DualSense controller is that there's a microphone built into the bottom of it. The cool thing about this mic on the controller is that you can activate Sony's voice assistant that's built into the PS5 by saying, "Hey PlayStation." Okay, obviously it's not gonna work, but I guarantee you there's a voice assistant built into this PS5. If you want to talk to your friends but you don't have access to a headset, the built-in mic has you covered. If you want to turn the mic off, all you have to do is push the small button just above the mic and there should be a yellow light that turns on, signifying that it's off. One thing that is kind of annoying is the fact that every time you turn the controller off and back on again, the mic will no longer be turned off. You have to manually push that button once again to turn the mic off. Not a huge deal since it's not hard to click one button, but it could have been easily integrated. One more thing about the DualSense wireless controller, and I'm just gonna say this now, but the PS4 controller is better. Yeah, that's right, I'm talking about the DualShock controller, not this one. The PS4 DualShock controller is smaller, which means it sits more comfortably in your hands compared to the PS5 where it's a lot more bulky. Almost like an Xbox controller, but not as bad. Sorry Xbox fans. Not really. Overall, the PS5 is the next-gen gaming console that will be superior to any console for years to come. The PS5 has a couple small issues in my opinion, but it would never break the purchase decision of the PS5. The positives outweigh the negatives by a landslide. This PS5 is about 3 years old now, but those that don't own a PS5, don't be fooled by those 3 years at all. It isn't a new console anymore, but it isn't even an old or dysfunctional console at all. It runs like it's brand new still, and it should, and it will for many years to come. Sony will be updating the system software for at least another 8 years, minimum. If you think about it, the PS4 is a functioning console that released over 10 years ago, back in 2013. And that's on top of the PS5 already being out for 3 years. The PS4 is a functioning console that still gets frequent updates. The PS4 has slowed down a ton in terms of usability, but it isn't to the point where you can just dispose of it. If you're on the fence about pulling the trigger after the PS5 has been almost impossible to find for years, now that Sony is keeping the supply up to par with the demand, if you can afford it, I would say go ahead and purchase the PS5. I guarantee that the PS5 will be far from disappointing for any of you that purchase it. I hope that this unboxing and review of Sony's PlayStation 5 helped you out a little bit in terms of whether you want to buy it or stay away from it. If this video helped you out and you finally jumped to one side of the fence, don't forget to hit this button right here so you don't miss out on any of my future tech reviews. As always, thank you so much for watching this huge unboxing and spec review of the PlayStation 5, and I'll catch you guys in a teraflop.